Squadron 42 is supposedly releasing in 2026. This demo, published by CIG, shows a level of quality and polish they are striving for. It, however, is not perfect. I'm Enigmatic, a cinematographer and editor with years of both real-world and game engine experience. In the past, I've collaborated behind the scenes with creators like Morphologist and Fatbird, and have also been behind the camera for many short and feature films. And in this video, inspired by the content creator Kai Zamet, we're going to dive into the tiny details of this first mission to show you the things that you might have missed in Squadron 42's prologue. While some of this will be a bit nitpicky, I hope you do learn something from this video. So to start off, in the intro we find the small graphical glitch from the hover overlay in the selection menu. There is a little bit of Z-fighting on the top of the tablet near the camera area, and this is when textures try to occupy the same depth, causing them to flicker back and forth. See, I told you this was going to be nitpicky. One of the other things I want to point out is the simulation of the moire effect. Essentially, when a camera films a screen, you get these weird, funky patterns. This is due to the pixels and the space between them not quite aligning with the camera's view angle. In this case, the tablet is tilted up relative to the camera. Keep in mind that I will be fast-forwarding through some of these parts so I can get to more of these details. While these cutscenes are rendered entirely in-engine in real time, there are some errors that occur when calculating the motion blur that objects are supposed to have. If you look closely, you'll notice that sometimes on the Hornets, both near and far away from the camera, there is an intermittent blurriness that covers the Hornet, even though the camera and the ship are moving at what seems like the same speed. Since the game doesn't accurately simulate shutter angle or motion blur as a camera would see it, it approximates this by getting the relative speed of both the object and the camera. This data is then used to apply a blur to each object individually based on how fast they are going relative to the camera. Even if the discrepancy is small, it still creates a visual blur that I find distracting. One of the details that I really enjoy is the subtle shake of the camera when it passes next to this giant asteroid. It's a stylistic choice, but it still has some impact and makes the scene pretty cool. And if you didn't catch it when flying past this asteroid, you can see some erroneous, what look to be explosion particle effects off to camera right. I'm going to let this next bit play out because it lives in my head rent-free. If you take a look at the Hammerhead Corvette the Hornets are flying under, you can see that as we get closer, the shadows go from the low LOD, computationally cheap versions to the high LOD, computationally expensive versions. The thing is, it's not very smooth.
What's your sit rep? In position, holding now. Understood. Stand by for further orders.
When coming up on the underbelly of this Javelin destroyer on the left, you can see that some of the shadow maps get pixelated and distorted the closer we get. This seems to be due to the shadow shader trying to cover the entire quad, but only selecting a single triangle. I'm unsure if this is part of some dithering or if it's a mismatch in the current shadow algorithm iteration. This scene here is pretty much spot on. There are a couple lighting artifacts in the back behind the character, but they aren't too distracting since we're looking directly at our character that we created in the main menu. The bokeh from the depth of field effects are beautiful. You can see all of these little blurry balls out in the distance getting larger as things become more out of focus and transitioning perfectly when things are in focus.
Honestly, we've been here so long I don't want to go anymore. I just wanted to let you know.
While there are some shadows flickering in this scene on the floor and on the walls, one thing I want to call attention to is the transparency of the glass, especially in the upper left-hand corner here. There seems to be something with transparent materials in Star Citizen and Squadron 42 by extension that causes a flickering effect when overlapping with an opaque material.
It is.
Also, behind Captain McLaren, you can see this screen switch LODs really fast. And unfortunately, it causes this distracting mess behind the character we're focused on. There is a slight frame drop here in the game.
Have you seen the F-8s up close?
No, sir.
The thing's a beast. Nimble.
Behind Captain McLaren's head, you can see that her hair
Sure
flickers
sounds
due
like
to the depth of field effect, being unsure of which strands of hair to mask.
Captain McLaren.
The saving file icon on the bottom right overlaps with the Mobiglass tooltip that pops up.
Gunners. Any gear report to your turret.
Here behind the curtains, you can see that the lighting flickers. This is due to the aforementioned issues with transparent materials in Squadron 42.
I talked to Watkins in logistics and he said the recon team was wiped out.
Really?
In just a
Then why are we
moment,
sitting
when the
here?
gunners are speaking with each other,
Stupid if they
they'll
know
switch
we
from
know,
one
they would've
animation
hit
to
by now.
another before they
Hey,
turn to look at you.
take as much time
This
as
is
they
characterized by a
Why
quick,
would they wait more of a
smooth
chance
snap
before
in a
they choose?
linear
Well,
fashion,
they can hit
so they move
whatever.
in a straight line.
Hey, there you are.
Hey,
Where's your helmet?
can't gun without it.
Hey, there you are.
Hey,
Where's your helmet?
can't gun without it.
There is a large frame hitch here, presumably because we're loading in more content. Maybe the escape pod they're looking at, or the interior of the mess hall.
Got to go up.
Jacobs told me the Vandal tried to board ships, and I haven't been able to sleep since. I heard from my buddy over on Sanity.
Sometimes, when characters walk through doors, they snap to their new heading instead of moving smoothly through the threshold.
I heard we aren't getting any reinforcements.
You'll also notice some lighting pop in on the left side of the screen.
It's this Polo Initiative horse shit. High Command's been freaking out about having to make cuts, so everybody's taking hits. Winslow on
On the floor here, you can see some noise, likely generated by the screen space global illumination, which calculates the light bounces in the room, but only for your screen, so you save GPU power. Your character has a small animation hitch once you finish opening the door. This animation is pretty much flawless, but if you look at the helmet, the shadow disappears because the camera gets a little too far away. And again, we see another animation hitch once we come out of this camera move. The helmet also jumps into our hands, so the animations for our hands and the animation for the helmet being picked up aren't quite synchronized. Marcus says hey again here, and it's the exact same line he says earlier when we meet him in the beginning.
Hey, there you are.
All set?
This person's Mobiglass
Yeah, you
icons
sleep last
render
night?
over Marcus's player model.
Yeah, me neither.
As we step back into the mess hall, you can see just below the screens, the reflective material just keeps jittering. I think this is because the shader has a much easier time calculating lighting when it has more available pixels on your screen. So the farther away you are, the more jittery it becomes. If you look carefully above the seats in the mess hall, there is a small button prompt that keeps appearing without a button. This is probably because they're activated via raycast, which means if your camera is looking at them, then they appear. I don't think this raycast has a maximum distance, so even if you're too far away to sit down, it's still showing you the prompt. Captain McLaren's video feed is low frame rate.
Captain McLaren. Sitcon upgraded to orange. All reserve personnel get to your stations.
Looks like this could be it. Hey, good luck. See you up there.
There is another animation hitch when you finish
You got it.
fist bumping Marcus.
God damn it, Goofy, get the hell out of there! So glad you could join us. I want you calibrated and ready to fire in 5, here?
When grabbing the turret control handles, there are a couple animation hitches. This is likely due to the turret's current position not matching the animation's starting position when you arrive. That is to say, I really love the depth of field effect here when the targeting computer comes down in front of your face. Alongside that, the Hornets flying by in the background are a really nice touch.
Just gonna do a full reset so you can get operational. Just follow the on-screen instructions for the calibration program. Stand by.
On the weapons calibrating screen on the left side, you can see this black shadow appear and then disappear, and then the turret's animation hitches. I think this is due to a mismatch in the actual ship's speed, where the turret is physically connected, and the animations you're causing when you're aiming the turret.
Last thing we need to do is verify your targeting. I'll load up a larger Vandal ship for you to practice targeting specific parts of the enemy.
There's a hitch here for the large Vandal ship when it transitions into the fading away animation. Behind most of the gunners, you can see their seats and the rest of their turret, but behind Starman Bell, you can only see the void. Also, Starman Little's helmet is the only thing that shows up on his video feed. It looks like his face didn't render in, or the camera wasn't positioned properly.
About time.
During Admiral Bishop's initial broadcast, we can also see the screen hitch as assets load in. On the right side of the screen, you can see a little bit of shadow flickering. The front landing gear of this Hornet snaps into position.
For 6 months now, we have faced
There's some moire effect caused by the holes in the grate pattern.
Every human with it. There have been battles.
At the end of this shot with Admiral Bishop, the camera shake stops. One of the screens in the background pops into existence. Some more wavy shadows on the front of the Javelin. And the shot of Marcus kissing his photograph is honestly one of my favorites in this whole demo. PFC Moreland has what I can best describe as an identity crisis.
This means a kingship.
On the close-up of this Hornet pilot, you can see that the camera shake invokes motion blur on objects that it shouldn't. It looks like the light on Captain McLaren disappears in this shot. On the left of Admiral Bishop, we can see a triangle behind the depth of field effect go a little crazy.
There will be no time for sorrow.
The camera zooms here are definitely stuttery. This is probably because of all the assets loading in since we're getting closer to the ground. In addition, there are some obvious graphics bugs with the clouds.
There should be no illusions about what we were up against.
If you look closely, the person behind Admiral Bishop's face changes. This small paper Hornet is adorable.
Siege of Tiber.
This person in the background's hands snap into position.
But we are the second fleet. History will remember us differently. We will not have to worry.
I think the slow motion here is a really nice touch.
Because today we will define ourselves through
Even though this is one of my favorite shots, there are a lot of errors.
We will not.
On frame 1, you can see that these characters are not in position. And on frame 2, they snap into position, causing a lot of motion blur. And on frame 3, you can see that it looks fine. However, in the way background in the other Hornet, there is another character T-posing, and he remains that way through the entirety of the shot. In the shot here, the camera tracks Admiral Bishop's nose, but it's too perfect and seems like the move is practiced beforehand. For context, in the more documentary style of filmmaking that this kind of follows, your typical compositions are reactionary, so this feels a little unnatural.
40 years from now, when you're surrounded by everything and everyone you hold dear, and they ask, what did you do in the Battle of Vega?
And this will be the last time I mention the jittering shadows.
I held the line. Men and women of the Second Fleet, I am proud to stand.
The lighting on the ceiling behind this crewman's head flickers.
Good luck. Bishop out.
Nice speech.
The little highlights under Bishop's nose through the depth of field effect is very distracting.
Let's get into position.
And it looks like the second pilot in the background is still T-posing. The camera attached to the Hornets hitches a little bit as they launch out of the Bengal. And the ships behind Admiral Bishop snap into position. There looks to be a quick graphical flash from the bright light in the scene.
Strip safeties from the Goliath. We'll have to hit him close.
The Goliath cannon looks to have one or two barrels misaligned. This might be a result of the animation from being damaged being applied too early.
What are people?
The pawls holding the Vanduul staff snap into place. The control orbs don't render in the left Vanduul's hands. The Idris's main armament, the railgun, doesn't seem to have any sound. There's a bit of a frame hitch, likely caused by the cockpit of a Vanduul ship coming really close to the camera and rendering in. It could also be due to the camera changing physical locations very quickly. And of course, there's an animation hitch jumping into this turret. Two giant flashbangs, likely caused by stretched particles. For some reason, this seems to happen in Star Citizen and Squadron 42.
Got one! I got one!
Good kill.
Frankly, I think reloading a turret like this is kind of stupid, but it's a video game. I'll let him have it. This fighter pilot says he's being chased by bogies. Bogies are unidentified contacts. He can most definitely identify these contacts. They are enemies, therefore they are bandits. And this concludes part 1 of this series, Nitpicking the Squadron 42 prologue. If you enjoyed it and learned a little bit, feel free to let me know in the comments. Other than that, please like and subscribe so I can keep putting this content out.